All right, everybody. Welcome to College Football Wraparound. As right now we are working to get our viewers on Facebook all up and going. As this is our first run with having 3 different platforms on at the same time, streaming us. So a lot of fun. So we are going to get this set up real quick for those on Facebook. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. So when it comes to that, okay, I believe we got our people on Facebook set up now. So there we go. I believe we do. All right. Turn your mic up. Okay. Got that. All right. So that is microphones being turned up right now. All right. So, as I said, we have a lot to talk about within college football, and that is we're going to talk about our SBN poll that you voted on. So, if you are someone who is excited to see how the vote went, then it is here for you right here and right now. Also, we're going to be talking about Brent Venables. He's in the thumbnail. That's going to be at the back half of the show tonight. So, again, we're starting with our rankings. So, without a doubt, here is how you voted. You, the viewers, this is how you voted for the SBN poll. And this will be official for the beginning of the season, going from week 0 and week 1. So, here you go. At number 1, you have the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, it is not shocking to tell you that it was a unanimous Georgia Bulldogs at number 1. And then at number 2, you got Texas. It's kind of interesting because Texas, returns Quinn Ewers. It's going to be interesting to see how this Texas team runs this year. That's going to be fun to watch. And then you got number 3, you got the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I'll say this. Ohio State has picked up a lot of good quality talent from the transfer portal, but it's going to be interesting. How do they mesh? And plus, new offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, how does that pan out up there in Columbus? We shall see this upcoming season. At number 4, you got the Oregon Ducks. Now, Oregon, there's a case that could be made. They probably shouldn't be number 4, but at the same time, in Oregon, there is this optimism. You got Dylan Gabriel coming in. Dan Lanning has done a great job with this Oregon team. They just seem to know how to rebuild every single year. So we will see how that goes. At number 5, you got the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, just a little while, literally 20 minutes ago, we had to update these rankings because we had one more vote come in for how the rankings should be. That helped get Oklahoma up to number 5. So if you're that person, then it's probably a happy time if you are an Oklahoma fan, knowing that you helped your team get to number 5. Now, if you remember the way that the rankings we have are structured, which it was we had a little bit of criticisms from the way that it was put together. So what we're going to do, because you had the top 4 teams were voted on in this order, and then you had 5 through 8, and then so on and so on. What we're going to plan to do is have 1 through 5 be a category to vote on, and then you have 6 to 10, and then 11 to 15, and so on and so on. That's how we're going to do it from now on. Either way, Alabama, number 6. At number 7, you got Penn State. Number 8, Notre Dame. Number 9, Michigan. Number 10, Missouri. 11 is Florida State. Number 12 is Tennessee. Number 13, Ole Miss. 14, LSU. Clemson is 15. Now, I've told you the top 15 so far. If you're wondering why I've got the top 12 on one side and then 13 through 25 on the other, the top 12 represent who really, that's like the structure of a playoff. But again, do keep in mind that this is just going off of just the sole 25 best teams right now. This isn't in any kind of playoff format. So that's why I was just telling you why you have ranks number 1 through 12 on one side of the screen, and then you have 13 through 25 on the other. Either way, going into 16, you have Texas A&M. Then at 17, you got USC. Now, for some, they may think USC is kind of low. But if you look at a lot of stuff, there's a lot of questions that are going to be coming out of Southern Cal right there. So USC coming in at 17, going to be big against that with that first game against LSU on September 1st. And then Auburn at 18. Now, again, the last vote we had come in helped Auburn jump from 20 up to 18. So if you're an Auburn fan, that's very good for you. And then Kansas at 19, Florida at 20, and then 21 is Utah, 22 is Louisville, 23 Kansas State, 24 Arizona, and then number 25 is the Miami Hurricanes. So that is your rankings that you, the viewers, voted on. Now, here's the question I have to you. So, what is your honest opinions? You can leave comments in the chat letting me know what you think about it. Again, this is how you voted. Now, another thing, I'll talk about my rankings 5 through 8 here in just a minute to tell you how I felt that portion of the rankings should have been. Remember, last week I gave you 1 through 4 from my side. So, really, it's going to be interesting to see what you have to say about these rankings. And also, I do want to mention that if you did not vote and if you disagree with the rankings, the next time, I believe it'll be September 3rd, which will be a Tuesday, we're going to put out another poll after week 0 and week 1, after all the games have gone on. That Tuesday, September 3rd, we will put another poll out. So that will be your next opportunity to give us an honest opinion about how you believe. So, all right, we have our first comment coming from Colton Naylor saying that Texas and Oregon are too high. Okay. And I mean, I can see that. Okay, of course, there's a lot of people who would say Ohio State should be the second best team in the country. I do ask you, who would be who would be the two teams that you would possibly put over Texas and Oregon from where they're placed? That would be the question I would have for you. Of course, we will wait and see his response in just a moment. Again, I'm going to put the rankings back up just so you get another look at it. Again, you see right here, Georgia's number 1. Texas is number 2. Ohio State's number 3. Oregon's number 4. Oklahoma's 5. Alabama 6. Penn State 7. Notre Dame 8. Michigan 9. And the number 10 is Missouri. Number 11 is Florida State. Number 12, Tennessee. Number 13, Ole Miss. 14, LSU. 15, Clemson. 16, Texas A&M. 17, USC. 18, Auburn. 19, Kansas. 20, Florida. 21, Utah. 22, Louisville. 23, Kansas State. 24, Arizona. 25, Miami. So, another person has commented, Ohio State number 2. Okay. And I mean, we will see, of course, after the first games how they go and if Ohio State climbs within the SBN poll. But for right now, we have them at number 3. Personally, I do not have Ohio State at number 2. All right, Colton has given us his top four: Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Michigan. Okay, so Oklahoma is at 3 in his. I do wonder though about Michigan. Here's the big question I have about Michigan, because they lost all these star players that were starters. That's a big thing. And then you also look at the fact that they also lost a lot of, like, they lost their head coach, and I believe they lost some coordinators as well. So really, if you look at it from Michigan, how will they rebound? That's a big question I have, is how will Michigan rebound this season? And not most of the time, not everybody can be just like how Georgia is now, how they can just rebuild with whatever circumstance there is. Michigan isn't normally known as a football. Well, they are a football school, but not really like they can rebuild like some of the elite teams like Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State. Like those three are supreme over a lot. So I just wonder how Michigan's going to do this season. So, of course, if you have any more comments, go ahead. This is your opportunity. Put them in the chat and let me know how you feel about these rankings, because it's just very interesting. Another question I would have is, what is your thoughts on where Florida State's ranked, with them being at number 11 and then with USC being at 17? I think those are polarizing teams that have been put in these places. So we'll see how that is. So, okay. All right. So this is an interesting comment. So a good team in college football in 25, college football 25, the new video game coming out. Team building, people should be adding Virginia Spiders. Okay. I have not. I don't think the game's coming out soon, so I can't wait for that game to come out, to be honest with you. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so now we're going to move on and go to our next topic, which really is in our thumbnail, and that is Brent Venables. So if you know college football, you know that it's been interesting to see how it's just interesting to see how these teams are playing. And so Oklahoma, these last 2 years with a new head coach, Brent Venables, after Lincoln Riley left. Now, most people know Lincoln Riley left for the USC job after Clay Helton was Clay Helton was fired, I believe. That sounds about right. Either way, Oklahoma got a new has basically extended Brent Venables 6 years. And so it's very interesting. So Brent Venables, he's got a new contract, I'm going to be quoting ESPN.com right here. And writing this article is Pete Thamel, which is a very reliable source from ESPN, saying the new contract, which the Oklahoma Board of Regents approved Friday, will keep Venables and Norman through the 2029 season. The deal has a total of $51.6 million. So that means the 53-year-old coach will earn an average of more than $8.5 million annually throughout the course of the deal. And then it says Venables previously signed a 6-year, $43.5 million contract with the Sooners in December 2021. So his new contract, as it says, will run through the 2029 season. So that's another 6 years. So here is something I wonder. Now that Brent Venables has been extended, I think that this is a good move. Now, it will be interesting because with Oklahoma moving to the SEC, it will be interesting to see how do they play with this new season coming up. Now, I will say this, because Oklahoma, First year with Brent Venables, 6-7. Very down year compared to what you were seeing from Lincoln Riley. Now, keep in mind, again, not every team can just pick up a new head coach and just all of a sudden, boom, they're the same team. Like, that doesn't happen all the time. So here's the big question here, and that is because they went 6-7 in Brent Venables' first year, and then I believe if I'm correct, they were 10-3 last season. So, I mean, significant improvement. So for Oklahoma, and here's another thing: the first year they had a lot of close games that they lost in the final minute, and they were in these games. So for Oklahoma, it will be interesting going into a new conference. Can they sustain the success? Brent Venables, I think, is a good coach. And really, he had never been a head coach in college football at a team like Oklahoma. He did have one previous stint with Oklahoma, but that was as defensive coordinator. So here's the question. Brent Venables, he definitely has this upside. Now, you did lose Dylan Gabriel and offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, 2 major losses for this team, but you still have a lot of talent there in Norman. This season, I think, tells a lot about what we can expect from Oklahoma. So I think Oklahoma's fine. I mean, clearly our viewers think that they're going to be fine. They're up at number 5. So Brent Venables, I think, well-deserved of his contract extension, I think. So, so what do you think? Because, I mean, this is really, I think, a good time. If you disagree, what is your opinion? Do you think Brent Venables should have been extended? Because, personally speaking, I think he did. I think it's a good extension. But for Oklahoma, there is that feeling about there could be consequences if the team doesn't have success. So, let me know. What do you think about Brent Venables ending up with a new contract with Oklahoma? So, now, of course, as I wait on some of your comments about Brent Venables, I do want to let you know that today I'm going to get into my 5 through 8 rankings as well. So here is another comment from Colton. This is actually a really good point. He says he shouldn't have got an extension until he proves himself in the SEC. Fair point. I mean, that's a fair point. He hasn't proven himself in the SEC. But personally speaking, when you take a team, and plus you got to consider the fact that he did lose a lot of players. When you take a team that goes 6-7 one year, which really, if you look at it, they could have had a 10-win season in his first year. They just had ups and downs, and they just couldn't close games out. And then you have a 10-win season last year. I think Oklahoma's fine. And then here's another comment. Giving him all that money before playing a snap of SEC ball is dumb. I mean, I get your point, but I still think that with the way that contract negotiations and stuff would go today, I mean, I think it was bound to happen. So, very interesting stuff with Brent Venables. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our final topic of the night, and I'm going to talk about my 5 through 8 rankings. So there you have it right there. You can see I've got Alabama at 5. I've got Oklahoma at 6, Notre Dame at 7, and Penn State at 8. So here's my honest opinion. Alabama, and I've been saying this since Saban retired, and that is Alabama's fine, okay? Kalen DeBoer, that was honestly probably one of the best hires Alabama has made after a big-time coach has left the program. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be incredible. Recruiting has been through the roof for Alabama. So Alabama at 5, I think that's a good spot for them. Again, personally speaking, I don't know if this year is a championship year for Alabama because of a new head coach. But Alabama still has the talent to be a really great football team. And to be completely honest with you, Alabama, like I said, they have the roster, but they also have the coach that could get them into the playoff, and they can make a lot of damage. Considering the fact that you have a 12-team playoff now, any of those 12 teams can win, if we're going to be completely honest. So Alabama at 5. And then Oklahoma at 6. Again, I'm just saying this. Brent Venables, he's a great coach. I think they are fine in the SEC, okay? I think that they will be incredible in the SEC, and they're going to have a great season. And they will be in the playoff, I believe. At number 7, I got Notre Dame. Really, I think it comes down to you got Riley Leonard coming from Duke, which is an incredible pickup. Second straight year, you have a guy who is from the ACC who's done great stuff. Only thing is, Riley Leonard was injury-riddled last season, so it's going to be interesting. Can he stay healthy enough to continue to have a great season for Notre Dame? It's going to be interesting. And then finally, at number 8, I've got Penn State. Now, again, I think that you got a first-year offensive coordinator at Penn State, but it really comes down to Drew Aller. And is he going to be improved with this next season coming up? I think that's a big question I think a lot of people have. And really, last year he had the receivers that if he played good enough, they could have been in the college football playoff, I believe. They were that good. It's just Drew Aller. It was just a rough start to his career with Penn State as a starting quarterback. So, going to be very interesting to see how that goes. So, folks, that is my 5 through 8 rankings. And so this has been a fun night of talking about some football. Also, just let me know. And of course, like I said, September 3rd will be the next opportunity to vote for the SBN poll. Again, I will show that one last time just so that you can see it. Just interesting stuff to see how the teams landed. And again, this is how you, the viewers, voted. So, if there's any complaints, if you didn't vote, then again, like I said, September 3rd is your next opportunity to vote on these rankings. So, if you disagree and you think somebody should be somewhere else, then September 3rd, after week 0 and week 1 are over, is your opportunity. So do not miss out on that opportunity. So, with all that being said, tonight has been a great night of college football talk. So I am so glad that you have decided to join us, and it's going to be an incredible football season. We will be back again next week with some more college football wraparound to give you more content as far as what's going on within the sport. And then I'm going to talk about my rankings 9 through, I believe, 12 is where I'm going to be. So, again, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again later. Good night, everybody.